This week it's time to take to the slopes with a review of the third game in the SSX series. Before I get started, I would like to briefly go over my thoughts on the first two games. The original SSX was a launch title for the PS2 in Europe, and it was by far the best of the bunch of titles on offer. Ordinarily, I avoid extreme sports games as, apart from the original Tony Hawk game, they are not really my thing. However, the good reviews led me to give SSX a try, and I'm really glad I did. To me, it doesn't really feel like a sports game, it feels more like a racer like Wipeout, complete with the amazing sense of speed and fantastic soundtrack. When SSX Tricky came along, I dismissed it initially, as it appeared to be little more than a remix of the first game with a few new characters and tracks. When I finally decided to rent it and give it a try, I discovered that it was even better than the original, and the use of the Run DMC track when you pull off an Uber trick is inspired. The third game is where many people believe the series reached its peak. While I had dabbled with the game before, I had never really sat down and taken the time to really sink any time into it, until now. So let's take a look and see if it can carve its way to the front of the pack, or if it collides with a tree and goes arse over tits. The visuals of SSX3 are noticeably more detailed than in the previous games, with the game still managing to move at a breathtaking pace on tracks like the Intimidator. The colour palette is more muted than before. EA Sports Big are definitely going for a more mellow vibe than they did with Tricky, which is both good and bad depending on your tastes. Personally, I loved the over-the-top nature of Tricky, though the style of SSX3 is a nice change. It would have got rather boring if they'd just done the same thing again. The most impressive aspect of SSX3 though is the use of disc streaming to allow races that cover an entire peak and multiple racetracks in the same event. These typically take at least 15 minutes to get from beginning to end and are fantastic fun. The SSX series is well known for its exceptional soundtracks, and the third game is no exception in this regard. The game features artists like the Chemical Brothers, Basement Jaxx, Fatboy Slim and Röyksopp, and the music actually matches the gameplay. Should you be languishing at the back of the pack in a race, then the music will lack certain layers. Once you get back in first place, however, the song will burst out of your speakers in its full glory. Another example is when you are out in the open countryside and go into an ice tunnel. The music will slow down and go all trancey for a while before ramping back up as you reach the exit. Absolutely sublime stuff. SSX3 was also the first game to feature the voice of DJ Atomica, a character that has returned in the Wii game SSX Blur and Burnout Paradise. I thought it was a nice touch to make it seem like the mountain range had its own radio station, and Atomica doesn't get annoying. Finally, there's some great sound design as well, including the way the announcer says Uber when you're filling up your trick meter. While SSX3 is a fantastic game and I would definitely recommend it to fans of the series, there are some things about it that hold it back a little bit and prevent it from overtaking SSX Tricky. This time around, all of your characters start from a blank slate, being basically crap at everything, such as grinding, tricks, acceleration, toughness, stability and more. As you earn money by placing in the early easy races or by finding collectibles in the free roam mode, you can then spend it on upgrading your stats back at the lodge. The early set of race events are pretty easy to beat, but the second peak is fairly challenging at first. However, by repeating earlier events and earning more cash, you can continue to improve your character until they and you are good enough to succeed, before repeating the process on peak 3. I'm not really a fan of this as it introduces a fair amount of the bad sort of grinding to the game. Without it though, it wouldn't take that long to beat the game, a problem that the first two titles had, to be fair. The most clever aspect of SSX3's designs are the epic races down the entire peak, to be sure. It's fantastic fun to start off up in the wilderness, carving your way down through caves and forests, before reaching the first signs of civilization and eventually ending up in the city at the bottom of the mountain. While the game is not huge in terms of the amount of tracks on offer, completing the Conquer the Mountain mode will still take you quite some time due to the amount of side challenges and collectibles there are to find in the free roaming mode. I've never really been a fan of the non-race events like slopestyle, mainly because I'm not that good at them. At least the ability to upgrade your stats mean that I stand more of a chance of getting a medal in these events, though I doubt I will ever manage to get a gold, let alone a platinum. SSX Tricky remains my favourite game in the series, though this third game isn't that far behind. SSX Blur on the Wii was horrible with its nasty motion controls, and I wasn't a fan of the deadly descents in the modern SSX game. The only one that I haven't played for any great amount of time is SSX On Tour, so I may return with a review of that in a later season. For now though, I will reiterate what I said earlier. SSX 3 is definitely worth checking out if you were a fan of the earlier games, though I don't think the gameplay quite beats what has gone before.